He thought no one was watching. The shelter cameras caught it all. A shelter worker raised his hand and struck a helpless dog. But instead of attacking, the dog did something no one expected. What happened next left everyone speechless. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. For the volunteers, this place was a mission. For the dogs, it was a last stop. For one German shepherd, it was the start of something no one saw coming. Max arrived on a rainy Tuesday morning, soaked, shivering, and silent. He was found wandering near a freeway, his ribs visible, his paws torn. The staff couldn't tell how long he'd been alone. But one thing was clear. Max didn't trust people. Among the staff was Rob, an older employee with a reputation for being strict. He didn't smile often, didn't talk much, but he had tenure, and no one dared question his methods. Something about the way he looked at Max from day one felt off. Max, quiet and watchful, kept his distance, but dogs talk in silence, ears, tails, posture, and Max's body language screamed fear. Around Rob, still in the chaos of daily routines, no one noticed much until one day a hidden camera recorded something no one expected. It happened during the morning feeding rounds. The shelter was unusually quiet. Most of the staff were in the back preparing medication and paperwork while Rob walked through the kennel rows with a bucket of dry food, his boots thewing against the concrete floor. Max stood in his enclosure, tail tucked, ears down. As Rob approached, Max didn't bark or growl. He simply backed into the corner, eyes tracking every step. Then it happened. The surveillance camera, recently installed after a donor-funded upgrade, captured it all. Rob opened the gate, muttered something under his breath, and without warning, raised his hand and struck Max across the face with an open palm. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Max didn't react the way some dogs might. He didn't snap. He didn't run. He simply flinched, whimpered, and sat down, his head lowered, eyes shining with something far deeper than fear. In the viewing room, 22-year-old volunteer Jenna had been sorting adoption files when the screen flickered. She looked up, stunned. "What the hell?" she whispered, eyes wide. She quickly grabbed her phone, replayed the footage, and hit record. Her hands trembled, but her resolve was instant. She marched straight to the shelter manager's office. Within an hour, the clip was circulating privately among staff. But what no one expected was what Max would do next. Because later that day, he approached Rob again. Not with fear, not with anger, but with something that brought the entire room to a standstill. Later that afternoon, as whispers of the video spread through the shelter, Rob carried on as if nothing had happened. He walked the halls with the same cold expression, feeding bowls clanging with his usual lack of care. Some staff avoided him. Others kept their eyes on Max's kennel, expecting the German shepherd to stay curled in the corner, distant and afraid. But Max had other plans. As Rob passed by his enclosure again, Max didn't retreat. He stood up, quiet, still. Then slowly he approached the gate. His steps were measured, hesitant, but there was no aggression, no growl, just a calm presence. When Rob opened the door, Max didn't flinch. He stepped out, walked right up to him, and gently pressed his head against Rob's leg. The air in the room changed. Rob froze. For a brief moment he looked down at the dog, his hand halfway to the food bucket. Max sat at his feet, tail low, eyes soft, not accusing, not scared, forgiving. Jenna, who had returned to quietly observe from the corner, felt tears sting her eyes. Why would he go to him? She whispered. A woman beside her, an animal behaviorist visiting for a consult, murmured, "This isn't obedience. This is trauma and hope." Max hadn't lashed out. He'd reached out, and in doing so he shattered the narrative of what abused animals were supposed to do. He didn't want revenge. He wanted connection. By the next morning the video had found its way online. Jenna had shared it anonymously with an animal welfare page, hoping to raise awareness. She didn't expect it to explode, but within hours, it had gone viral. The footage of Rob slapping Max played on millions of screens, accompanied by outraged captions like "Fire him," "Justice for Max," and "End shelter abuse now." People were furious. Protests began forming outside the shelter gates. Reporters arrived. Donations poured in, but not to the shelter. Instead, they went to rescue groups and legal aid funds for animal abuse victims. The pressure was overwhelming. But just as the fury hit its peak, a second video surfaced. This time it was the footage of Max approaching Rob later that day. The moment he pressed his head gently against the same man who had struck him, the internet paused. The comments changed. What kind of soul does a dog have to offer forgiveness like that? One user wrote, "We don't deserve them," said another. News anchors began asking a different question. Why would a dog forgive what a human wouldn't? Animal psychologists weighed in. It's not just forgiveness. It's a survival response, mixed with loyalty, but it shows emotional depth we're only beginning to understand. Max, once a nameless stray, had become a symbol not just of cruelty, but of courage, grace, and something even deeper, healing. The world wasn't just angry anymore. Now it was listening. Rob was terminated from the shelter within 48 hours of the video going public. But that wasn't the end of it. Under mounting public pressure, the local authorities opened an investigation. Rob was charged with misdemeanor animal cruelty. But instead of jail time, the judge issued a surprising sentence. He was ordered to undergo court-mandated therapy, complete 400 hours of community service, and volunteer for 6 months at a rehabilitation farm for abused animals. It wasn't a punishment. It was a chance for redemption. Meanwhile, Max's story continued to ripple outward. The volunteer who had recorded the incident, Jenna, filed adoption papers. She had bonded with Max the moment he pressed his head against Rob's leg. To her, Max wasn't just forgiving, he was teaching. With Jenna, Max thrived. His eyes brightened, his body filled out, his tail wagged freely, and he wasn't just any pet. He became a symbol of healing. The shelter, now under new management, implemented sweeping reforms, 24/7, camera monitoring, staff retraining, mental health evaluations, and a zero-tolerance abuse policy. A plaque was installed at the entrance in honor of Max, a silent teacher. Max was invited to visit schools, shelters, and community centers, helping educate kids and staff about empathy and emotional intelligence. He walked in proudly, calm and regal, wearing a service vest, embroidered with one simple word, survivor. He hadn't just survived cruelty, he had transformed it into change, into light, into hope. If you were moved by this incredible story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an amazing tale like this. Stay with us for more heartwarming and unbelievable stories.